Hi, welcome to Chapter 9 of Safety, Health, and Nutrition. Chapter 9 is Supportive Healthcare. And here are our objectives for this chapter. We're going to identify symptoms of infectious disease that should say are common during early childhood. We're going to outline the criteria for exclusion from care for early children and staff. Obviously, unfortunately, sometimes children are too sick to get to stay because the chance of them getting others is just too great. So we've got to have them stay at home that day. Or sometimes we might be able to exclude them somewhere on our facility if we're set up for that. We're going to describe considerations programs must take regarding caring for children that are just mildly ill. And we're going to recall the licensing requirements for handling medication in early care and education programs. So that's all the stuff that this chapter is going to cover. Some of it won't be covered in the notes, and it'll just be up to you to handle that in reading. So the 4 stages of communicable diseases are incubation, prodromal, acute, and convalescent. Each of these stages represents different phases of the disease's progression. So it's important to understand that these stages in order to prevent the spread of communicable diseases. For example, it's handy to know that the stage when someone is most contagious with a communicable disease is usually during the acute stage. Of course, that's not a hard and fast rule that all diseases are going to adhere to, but that is just typical because that's when the symptoms are the most severe and the virus or the bacteria that's causing them is actively replicating in the body. So it's important to take precautions, especially during this stage, to prevent the spread of any disease. So in early care settings, one of the most common infectious disease symptoms is any respiratory symptoms like coughing, sneezing, and a runny nose. And they can be caused by various infectious diseases, from the common cold or flu to something worse. But of course, we hope we stick to cold and flu. In early care settings, there are a few other common infectious diseases, though, besides cold and flu. And some of the most common include hand, foot, and mouth disease, chickenpox, and RSV. And these can spread through close contact, contaminated surfaces, or respiratory droplets. So, of course, it's important to maintain all those good hygiene practices that we learned about in the last couple chapters. And of course, you can probably already guess that it's very important for you as teachers to know the signs and symptoms of common infectious diseases, because the quicker you identify them, the quicker you can take action and help prevent the spread. And this is the part where I'm going to tell you that if you're still with me and you're watching my videos, that you're going to get some bonus for that. So your bonus this week is that it's beginning to feel like spring. So why don't you send me into my Canvas inbox some pictures of some pretty flowers or just something else that reminds you of spring. Make sure you label it as bonus so that I easily recognize it and know why you're sending it. So, is it the flu or the cold? They're caused by 2 different viruses, but they look a lot alike at first. The common cold usually has milder symptoms, though, like a runny nose or a stuffy nose, and sneezing and sore throat. The flu, however, often comes with more severe symptoms like a high fever, those body aches that come with a fever, fatigue, and coughing. So they can both make kids feel pretty lousy, but the flu does tend to be more intense and it's more likely to lead to complications. This is a handy little, you can search for this on the internet and print this off so that people can, at your center, can help easily know the difference. And lice. One of the joys of dealing with children is that they're often going to get lice, and it has often had a negative stigma attached to it, like it's a cleanliness thing. However, you could almost say that it's a friendliness thing too, because, a kid who's very active with other kids is probably going to get it at some point. So lice, as you probably already know, are tiny insects that can infest the scalp and the hair. And they spread only through close head-to-head contact, like when kids play or share personal items like combs, hats, or headphones. They cannot jump or fly, but they do crawl very quickly from one person to another. So it's important even to educate children about personal hygiene and encourage them not to share personal items to help prevent the spread of lice. So part of your health education can be educating them about lice and helping prevent the spread there. And as for the conditions or characteristics in an early learning center that contribute to the spread of lice, there are a few conditions, and they can include close physical contact among children during activities like play or nap time, or like we just talked about, sharing of personal items. And so it's important that at your center you have policies in place to promote good hygiene. And like I just said, educate them. Here I have links to diseases that must be reported to the state. And so I've made these Oklahoma specific for you so you can go and look and explore these links some and just get lists of what needs to be reported and how. And we also have information about the administration of medication. It's very similar in your book to what it is here, but I wanted to show you that Oklahoma does have their own policies if you wanted to check those out. And I would think that your supervisor or the director at your center is very aware of these as well. So thanks for sticking with me for the chapter 9 notes, and I hope you learn a lot in this chapter.